into Titan game day morning. Hope everybody had a fantastic holiday weekend. Happy to have you guys back for another Sunday together, week 12. Getting ready to get underway. Titans and Bengals 4 hours from now. We're going to talk about the 3 keys to success, as is the custom. We'll get one from you. We'll do a best bet, and then I'll head over to Nissan Stadium to see what takes place between Tennessee and Cincinnati later this afternoon. Hope you guys, as I mentioned, had a fantastic holiday. It was good to get a couple of days off, but ready to get back into the swing of things and to talk about a game that the players and the coaches don't want to talk about as a revenge game, but that doesn't mean you and I can't, because it sure as hell means something to a great many of you. Before we get started, need you guys to share this show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you are choosing to hang out with us this morning, and we're grateful that you spend any of your time here with us on A to Z Sports. If you're on Twitter, retweet the show, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, like Tracy Lamar or Jamie Lahue, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. If you're on YouTube, like our buddy Lou Man and Steven Crozio, you can subscribe to the channel. You can like the video if you would be kind enough to do so, and we would be grateful for you that way. Buford Barbie says he's still stuffed from Thanksgiving. You know, I do Thanksgiving different. Well, maybe some people do that. I always go to a steakhouse every year on Thanksgiving. I don't like to cook. I don't like to clean. I like it all to be taken care of and for me not to have to worry about it. But the only drawback of that is no leftovers, which I was certainly feeling yesterday as I scrounged around the house looking for something to eat. Anyway, we're not here to talk about your dinner 4 days ago. We're here to talk about this football game. So let's go ahead and do it. Welcome into Titan Game Day morning here from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I am proud, as always, to be presented to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for the best car buying experience humanly possible. 2023 model year Fords available right now at tworiversford.com. Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. That is the place that you go for the intel edge you need to succeed. And Superbook Sports will help you get in on all the action, whether it's the Sunday slate, Monday Night Football, college basketball, the NBA, the NHL, or whatever you desire. Download the Superbook app and start betting today. Jackie Hulbert says, where's Big Ten Jeff? You know, I haven't seen Big Ten Jeff in one of my shows in a long time, Jackie, and certainly I don't expect to see him around for a while. Give him a couple days to lick his wounds after Michigan put it on them at home yesterday. Absolutely brutal for Ohio State. But no college football. Let's focus on the NFL. 3 keys to success. I'm going to give you my 3, and I need one from you. So, what is your key to the Titans defeating the Bengals at Nissan Stadium today? Put aside the PTSD from this past January. Clear your mind of the 3 interceptions that Ryan Tannehill threw when last we saw these two teams play. Disregard the 9 sacks that they got on Joe Burrow in that game, because that game doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter anymore. It's about this matchup between these two teams in this particular season. Now, there's a couple of similarities, right? Obviously, the core of the Bengals is still largely the same. Although important to note that Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon will both not play today. Thought that Chase might give it a go. Seemed like they were ramping him up during practice. And now the situation, as reported by Ben Baby at ESPN a couple of days ago, Jamar Chase not expected to make his return against the Titans. So your keys to success for the Tennessee Titans today, give me yours. I'll give you 3 of mine. Let me start with the first one right after I tell you about Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for the best car buying experience humanly possible. There's no question that they always make it fast, easy, and fun. The 2023 model year Fords, fast, easy, and fun to get your hands on one of them. You can go drive one, test drive one out at the dealership in Mount Juliet. You can custom order your own new Ford the way that I did with my new Ford last year. You can go out to the dealership and work with any of their non-commissioned salespeople and have the most enjoyable car buying experience you have ever had. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So John Spainhoward takes mine right out the gate. The wind is expected to be a factor today. We are currently in Middle Tennessee under a wind advisory until about 3 o'clock this afternoon, which obviously would take us through the bulk of the game. So between 30 and 35 mile an hour winds which is pretty significant. In fact, I'm not crazy about that idea, given that I'm going to have to sit out under a small tent in pregame for 2 hours on Titans radio with Blaine and Mickey. But you know what? It's fine. We'll play through it. The Titans obviously going to have to play through it. And when last we saw this team, it was very much an aerial extravaganza, right? They were 300 yards passing for Ryan Tannehill, chunk plays by Chig and by Treylon Burks, and moving the chains, converting over 53% of their third downs, and doing so with their passing game, which is not a new development, but it's a development that we haven't seen take place for them in quite some time. So now Derrick Henry, who's been not really like, Derrick had his last big game against the Chiefs, obviously in a loss, and since then it's been kind of toned down a little bit. To keep the ball on the ground, to keep the ball from doing anything unpredictable, given that turnovers are going to be so critical to this team's success, as they were the last time. That's the only thing that you can take from January to this game. Turnovers going to be a big part of this game. So for Derrick Henry, I would say 20 to 25 carries at minimum for this guy to get involved. They need to have a strong rushing attack. They need to win up front, and that is something that they're going to be tasked with today. The Bengals are going to try to stop it. Everybody does. That's the first thing you try to do with the Titans, is try to take Derrick Henry out of it, and you try to take him out of it early. If you can get the Titans behind the sticks, the game already goes ahead, and the game takes Derrick Henry out of itself, because by nature of the of where you will be trailing. Peter says, Buck, pretty windy out here today already. See you at the stadium. Yes, I always look forward to seeing everybody who watches the primetime show and listens to the radio show. Always enjoy hanging out with you guys. Make sure you're dressed appropriately. Sounds like the rain's going to hold off, but the wind will certainly be a factor. So that's my first key to success. They need to win in the ground game. Rushing is going to be so critical for this team. And on the opposite side of things, let's talk about the Bengals on offense and what the Titans defense is going to need to do without one big piece in particular. Getting a few returning, but one guy who's really made this defense go is already been ruled out for this game. We'll talk about that together right after I remind you that the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage is the place that you go for the intel edge you need to succeed. GaryAshton.com is the best in the business. The official real estate agent of the Preds, the official real estate agent of me. Maybe Gary needs to find the Preds a new home, given that Bridgestone Arena has basically been underwater for the past 2 days. I was supposed to go to the hockey game last night. Not happy about that. But what I'm always happy with is the intel edge I get and that you will get in this red-hot Nashville real estate market at GaryAshton.com. So, the Bengals, their offense really, since their first game against the Baltimore Ravens about a month and a half ago. Let me double check exactly when that game took place on their schedule, because it was a loss, a 19-17 loss, but it felt like their offense kind of figured something out in that game. They've won 4 of their last 5, the loss, a blowout loss to the Browns on the road a couple of weeks ago. But since then, they've beat the Saints, they've beat the Falcons, they put 42 on the Panthers and 37 on the Steelers. So the offense starting to click. They're doing it almost exclusively out of the shotgun, which is something that I asked Mike Vrabel about on Friday after practice.
For as much shotgun as they like to run, is that just because Burrow looks pretty comfortable running it based on what they've seen in the last couple of weeks?
Well, they're in 11 personnel 87% of the time, so I would say that teams that are in 11 trend more towards being in a gun. They do things under center, but not as much. So they're predominantly an 11 personnel team. That's where they feel like is best for them. They got a bunch of really good skill players. So we'll have to be prepared, whether they're an empty, whether they're in the shotgun or the quarterback's under center in whatever personnel group that they're in.
Is there anything about that that's helped their rushing attack? Because they've been among one of the best teams as far as success rate in the last couple of weeks.
I would say that when you throw the ball as effectively as they do, you see a fair bit of split safety defense. But they've run the ball well. They've covered up the guys inside, gotten some push, and whether it's Mixon or P. Rye, they've done a good job.
based on.
So that's Mike Vrabel talking about the Bengals on offense, and Xavier Cohen points out about the Bengals wins. Those are all under 500 teams. Buck, I mean, do you really want to go look at the opponents that the Titans have beaten? Because, buddy, the the Raiders, Colts, Commanders over 500, the Colts again, the Texans, the Broncos, and the Packers. The Commanders are the only team over 500 at this point in the season that the Titans have beaten. So you don't want to go strength of schedule when comparing the Bengals, because all of the good teams so far, and listen, to their credit, they played the Chiefs incredibly tough, and it ultimately didn't matter, right? They got their asses kicked by Buffalo, and they lost at Kansas City. Obviously, losing to the Giants, who have had a good year so far in the NFC East and are an over 500 team. So the only over 500 team that the Titans have beaten this season is the worst team in the NFC East, which is the Commanders. And by the way, they've figured things out a little bit. So, you know, if they are to beat the Bengals have wins at this point in the season over teams that are not overwhelmingly impressive. That is an accurate assessment. But I would say don't do it in comparison to the Titans, because at least the Bengals have beaten the Jets. They have beaten the Dolphins. Now, that was without Tua, and that was in the concussion situation. But still, those facts cannot be ignored and should not be downplayed at this point. It's a very fun matchup, because the Bengals on offense are phenomenal in the last 2 months, let's say, and the Titans on defense have been great basically ever since the Bills game. So we'll see how this continues to develop, but this is a matchup that should be really, really fun. Now, no Jamar Chase and no Joe Mixon. So second key to success, basically hold up in the secondary. No explosive plays to Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. Samaje Perine is somebody who is going to be a factor in their passing game, but they have figured out the rush. So no explosive plays in the secondary, and continue to play great run defense. That's 2 and 3. Because at this point in the season, the Titans defense without Danico Autry today for the first time all season. He hadn't missed a game until today. At this point, Danico Autry has been a big part of everything they do. They'll have to live life without him, as they have done so many different players. But it sounds like Bud Dupree, Amani Hooker, and Elijah Molden are all going to be available. We'll see what happens in about 2 hours from now when we find out who the inactives are for the game. All right, best bet is what we have up next, and then we'll wrap things up, and I'll head over to Nissan Stadium and look forward to seeing many of you out and about. The best bet, as always, is presented by Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the place that you go to get in on all the action. Vols, Titans, Preds, Grizzlies, specific odds boosts and promotions for local Tennessee teams. That is the best place for you to go. That is the place that will match your first bet up to $1,000, win or lose. Superbooksports.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Van Jeffrey asks, Buck, where is Zach Cunningham? He's on IR, and honestly, they're better off without him. Zach Cunningham hasn't been a good player all year. But Danico Autry is, and obviously that's a missing piece, given that he suffered not a season-ending knee injury, which was big in Green Bay, but an injury nonetheless that's going to cost him some time. So the best bet today is the Titans as 2.5-point home dogs. The Titans and points, especially at home, man, that's a pretty risky bet at this point. You can also get them on the money line, plus 120 in the Superbook Sports app. So I would take the Titans plus 120 on the money line, and I would probably take them plus the 2.5 at this point as well. That's the best bet. Hope you guys enjoy the game today. I'm looking forward to it. I think that the situation is going to be interesting nonetheless, and certainly there will be drama to discuss after the fact, win or lose, for the Titans and the Bengals. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will talk to you tonight on A to Z Sports Prime Time. See y'all.